So as much as we love pushing the boundaries each and every October and making pumpkin pizzas or edible band-aids, I feel like there's still room for incredible looking versions of some of the classic stuff too. Take for instance this homemade apple crumb loaf, or a pumpkin spice soft pretzel, or even the most delicious butterbeer cake I think I've ever seen in my entire life. I wasn't exaggerating about the looks of these things, as you can see. This one has the potential to be an all-timer, so let's get right into it. I think we should get things started with Viv's Apple Crumble Loaf. I grabbed some sugar, cinnamon, and kosher salt, AP flour and butter, baking powder, an egg, some milk, brown sugar, and a couple of apples. As we move along throughout this entire video and all of these recipes, you'll probably notice a trend of very attainable ingredients, very manageable active work times. They are very standard, classic recipes, but they just seem to be executed so perfectly. And I think it's finally some stuff that some of you will be willing to remake at home, which is nice. I don't think I could have paid any of you to make some of those pizzas last week. But this came together by first whipping up that interior layer of the crumble, mostly comprised of the brown sugar and flour, set to the side, then all the dry ingredients whisked thoroughly together, and eventually, gradually added into our wet stuff. With the peeled and grated up apples as well. Can't forget those, they are the namesake of this recipe. And as I'm putting this together and allowing it to bake off for about an hour in a 350-degree oven, it's occurring to me that this is oddly similar to something we call banana bread, but with apples instead. So why aren't we calling it apple bread? It's almost as if this actually isn't a bread. I will never allow my beef with the naming of banana bread to die. But to finish this one, I allowed it to cool off, I whipped up my little glaze, poured it all over the top, and wow. Somebody needs to make an air freshener the same scent as this, because I wish I could be smelling this all year round. That's more like it. Look at the crumb on this thing for a quick throw together loaf, or whatever you want to call it. Ugh. This is an example of one of the very few baked goods that I actually crave. Something that smells unbelievable, it just fills up your whole house, it's super seasonal. The crumb is nice and tender, it's the perfect level of sweet. My only complaint is the fact that all that crumb went in the middle, and I feel like some of it should have been on the top. Well, I'm stupid, and there was supposed to be some crumb on the top. That makes a lot more sense. We still get that nice gooey brown sugar and cinnamon inside. I'm missing the texture, but it is what it is. With or without it, this is absolutely unbelievable. Please make this, especially if you went apple picking and you've got some fresh ones to throw in here. Really, really good start. Next up, we've got some amazing looking pumpkin spice pretzels that I've been sitting on since last year. And I grabbed some sugar, salt, cinnamon, and flour, warm water, and active dry yeast, vegetable oil, our pumpkin pie spice, baking soda, and an egg. As is often the case when I go to remake these internet recipes, it took me a minute to actually find the written up version of this. Usually if it's not in the description of the video, it's in the comments somewhere, or in the creator's bio, maybe on their blog, but nope. For this one, I eventually tracked down one of the creator's comments where they said they have a go-to recipe for soft pretzels, and hilariously they linked it to, what a coincidence. I guess all roads lead back to Tasty. We can now officially add this one to the BuzzFeed test playlist, although unintentionally. I threw together my dough and let that proof at room temp for a little over an hour. I lopped it up into 8 equal portions, rolled them out into nice long strands, and then attempted to tie them into my pretzel shapes. This was actually way harder than it looks, so props to all you Auntie Anne's workers in the malls, at least the ones that still exist. And even though, foolishly, I thought I had the shapes nailed down, yeah, no. I was attempting to avoid pressing them really hard together at the ends to get them to stick, but it had to happen anyway. That's why a few of these are gonna have a couple of those weird dimples where they intersect. But they did stay together, so I coated them with an egg wash, baked them off at 450 for 12 minutes. And then the only portion of this that the creator of the video added was whipping up a cinnamon, sugar, and pumpkin pie spice mix, slathering on some melted butter onto our finished pretzels, and then dunking them down right in that sugar mix. Part of me wants to be salty that this person got 3 million views off adding some sugar and spices to a tasty recipe, but I also realize I am literally the last human on earth that would be allowed to complain about that. Part of me doesn't even want to acknowledge what I'm watching on my TV. It's the Yankee playoff game. The last time I talked about one of my teams, they lost 2 games and fired their coach. Reminiscent of the Jets season, actually. Just up in green flames. Look at that thing. It only took me 8 tries to get one half decent looking. For how easy this was, and almost kind of like a cheat code for achieving a yeasted bread that would normally take a lot more time, this is really good. The interior is super fluffy and nice and chewy. The outside is perfectly golden. One thing I wasn't expecting was the crunch on the bottom of this thing. It is super nice. One minor complaint is you get a little bit of that like eggy flavor from the egg wash. I don't know if I went too heavy. I realized that I wouldn't have gotten this like nice deep color without it, but overall still really good. It lived up to my expectations, but let's see what this last one has in store for us. Lastly today is one that, frankly, I've been looking for any excuse to make because it looks that good. It's been out for over a year. From In Bloom Bakery, it is the Butterbeer Cake. I grabbed some flour, heavy cream, buttermilk, and sugar. Butterbeer soda, honey, butter extract, and vanilla paste, some sprinkles and baking powder, baking soda and butter, powdered sugar, butterscotch chips, a couple of eggs and salt, and some brown sugar. I started this one off by cooking down 3 cups of the soda until it reduces to about a half a cup. And before that could even halfway finish, Steven asked me for a quesadilla for dinner, and it's not like I'm doing anything important or anything, so I pushed everything to the side and whipped one up for him. A few tortillas and cheddar cheese, some leftover shredded up chicken, some spices and sour cream. Who's got it better than him, is what I say. He gets dinner hand-delivered like some prince. He gets to watch our sports team win a playoff series. Anyways, back to our regularly scheduled programming. This one's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be the most labor intensive. It's got 3 distinctive components: the cake, the butterbeer buttercream frosting, and then the butterscotch swirl sauce. And that soda reduction is for the cake, which I love the idea of. It's gonna inject a whole lot of concentrated butterbeer flavor, along with all the other ingredients dropped one by one into my stand mixer. From the extracts, the butter and sugar that I whipped to hell to make sure they were nice and airy, the eggs, the whisked up dry ingredients. I'm sure this could be done by hand, or like even a hand mixer, but for the amount of different components and methodology here, I just figured the stand mixer would be the easiest. It's gonna get baked off in a 9x9 pan with some parchment paper laid down in a 350-degree oven for about a half an hour. I did want to address one thing quickly that I've said often throughout all these videos, and I still believe. I'm not the biggest sweets guy. I don't ever crave candy, rarely ever any baked goods, unless it's a square, cocoa-based, chewy, fudgy thing. Or unless it's seasonal stuff, kind of like this. I'm a sucker for anything that comes and goes, such as peppermint stuff, pumpkin spice, obviously. I think I was born with like more of a salty tooth, if that even exists. I'd almost always rather have a second dinner or like a salty snack rather than a dessert. But it's stuff like this that has the potential to really change things for me, because once I had that butterbeer buttercream going and that really nice like butterscotch glazy sauce, and I put all 3 together with a super generous layer of each one, good God, is this thing looking freaking glorious. Not even as good as that original video, I'll concede, and still I cannot wait to try this thing and get butterbeer buzzed. Oh, absolutely. As per usual, my cake decorating skills leave some to be desired, but it's not really what I care about right now. This is literally, to a T, everything I would want in a butterbeer food of any kind. It's sweet, it's got that real potent, like, butterscotch buttery flavor. I was ready to complain a little bit about the cake being a bit overcooked. Just the way it looks, it got really brown. But I don't think it's terrible. Maybe it could have came out 2 minutes earlier. That sauce dripping down the sides, like, it really is the little things that just make me so happy, and this is one of them.